most people mess up is with the inductive lead. So when I'm doing the battery heavy load test, it's going to go over the machine. And I am going to load it to half the cold cranking amps for up to 15 seconds. And it should stay above 9.6 volts. So the cold cranking amps on this one is what, 530. So that's half 530 is 250, 265. So you'd load it to 265. So you either got to be on the blue scale, red scale. Don't forget to select the correct scale, because if it's 265, I'm not going to be able to do that on the 100 scale. What I'm going to have you do, though, once you make the right selections, is I'm going to have you just load it to 100. So I might switch over there. And then once I see that you know how to do it, and you're going to read the voltmeter, that tells if it passed or not, it needs to stay above 9.6. I'll tell you okay, you'll turn it off. Next thing you're going to do is, if you're taking an order, charging test. And so charging test, you need to move this. And really, you never need to take this machine off. I see some people, they'll take it off, put it back on every single time. I never figured that out. So this, I need to put one of three places. Over this cable, which is sometimes difficult. I can go over the battery cable, which that's a good place. It's pretty easy. Or this one here is nice. It has a single ground cable, and that's also acceptable. So the first thing you're going to do is just start it up, no load, just when it charges at idle. That's pretty straightforward. Can you reach in and start it at idle? And I'm going to be here, so if you need me to do something, like start it, turn on the headlights, whatever it is, let me know and I'll do that. And so no load charge, you might want to go back to the blue scale, and this is where we get charging system voltage. You'll read that with your meter. Some people get like, where do you measure charging system voltage at? Just go right to the battery. Same place you measure open circuit voltage. So it's 13.6. It's going to ask you, what should charging system voltage be?
13.5 to 15.2.
Right, 13.5 to 15.2. And so that you'd write down what you reported, and you write down how many amps it's charging with no load on it. And then what you're going to do for the maximum output is you'll ask me to raise it to 2,000 RPMs. And you're going to load this to what? This is one that people always forget. The voltmeter's on 12 volts. You don't have to load the crap out of it. You just load it until the voltmeter's on 12 volts. The alternator should go to maximum. So I load it just until the voltmeter goes to 12 volts. And that's with me raising it to 2,000. People what they get confused over is, oh, you got to turn on the high beams. Oh, you got to raise the. So keep all your tests in order. That'll be very helpful. Maximum output, 2,000 RPMs, loaded to 12 volts. So the next thing you probably want to do, voltage drop. So here's what you got to remember: voltage drop. I need to have the system on, so it needs to be A, running, B, high beams on, and yeah, keep the high beams on. And voltage drop is basically a test for resistance. So the positive side, here's where I keep myself to, is positive to positive. Be careful not to burn yourself. And so I'm going to go positive on the alternator, positive on the battery. And it's going to be 188 millivolts. So that's voltage drop. It's telling you the difference in voltage from this to this. Negative side, from negative on the battery to the case. That's the negative on the alternator. 79 millivolts. So on the charging system, 2 to 3 tenths is okay. Starting system is going to be quite a bit more. It's going to be like 4 or 5 tenths. And so that's basically it. What we'll do, I won't take the time now, is and actually I could disable the starter in there for you. I'll disable the fuel system, and then you're going to crank the car over. You're going to look at 2 pieces of information. Cranking system voltage, that's what the voltage is while that starter motor is cranking that engine on the car, right? That's an ASC question. It has to be on the car. And so you can look at the battery voltage while it's cranking. That's cranking system voltage. Should be above 10.5. So 9.6 is the load test. 10.5 is the cranking test. And then you can do voltage drop. But for safety reasons, what we'll do on the negative side. So the negative post, and you just reach down here and touch the case while it's cranking. Not now, like how it's running. So you'll have me crank it over, negative, negative, and you'll look at your meter while it's cranking. Oh, and I skipped that. On the cranking system voltage, you're looking at voltage, and then while it's cranking, you're also looking at the amperage. So remember, if you see the needles peg, it's probably because you're on the wrong scale. You might want to choose the starting one, and then you do the voltage drop. And then the last thing that you do, right? Oh, I skipped one. Actually, I don't need that. Is I want to see if the diodes are working. Remember, that alternator, even though it initially produces AC voltage, it needs to be switched to DC voltage, rectified before it comes out the output. So I'm going to put my meter on the output, right, the battery, and on ground. And I'm also, one of the few times you'll use your meter on AC, and I'll see if there's any AC voltage coming out. And when you see your meter flick around like that, it means it's 0. You're actually allowed a 0.5 volt. And then the last thing that you're going to do would be the parasitic drain. And that's one you should have been practicing. You got your own method. So I'm going to loosen it up, make sure it's ready to remove. Now, for the first time, it's going to be on amperage. So you can put it on full amps or milliamps. And you're going to lift this, touch this to the post. Make sure you don't slip here and lift it over your other lead without separating. And then you just simply look at your reading and then carefully lower it back down before you take your meter off and then tighten it back out. So that's the tricky part. So make sure it's ready to go. Post, clamp in a place I'm not going to lose contact. Raise it up and over. Look at my reading. Place it back down without my meter ever losing contact with the post or the cable in. See, the whole thing, I get on like 15 minutes and something like that. 20 minutes. I mean, the people that know it are going to be done in like 5 minutes, you know. And people that don't know it, you're not going to get it in 20. Yeah, 20 minutes is a long time. Anyway, okay, so any questions?
You got it something to do? You have a clear one? Yeah, yours is Tuesday.
So here's the schedule. So the first one